Ladies and gentlemen, we are welcome to our presentation. Alright, let's come and sit, okay? Okay.
I'm Ariane Zurcher, and this is my daughter Emma Zurcher-Long. Emma's 12. And Emma is going to, she loves talking into the microphone, but for this presentation, we're actually she's going to communicate by typing on this keyboard. It's a Bluetooth keyboard hooked up to the iPad. What we did in the beginning was we started with a stencil board that Emma would point at with a pencil. I would then transcribe the letters that she chose. We then moved on to a laminated letterboard, and now we've graduated to the keyboard. Emma actually chose the title of this presentation. She wrote when I said to her, "What do you think you'd like to present about?" And she said, "How about we present, My Body Does Not Obey My Mind." So I'm actually going to let Emma take the lead on this presentation for the most part. I will say that we have a blog. It's called Emma's Hope Book. Emma more and more is posting blog posts herself, and I am less and less frequently writing blog posts myself. So Emma, do you want to start things off? Here we go.
My voice works in slurs that come out that throw people off the intelligence trail.
We have a voice that is a girl's voice that gets activated to read the words. My voice works, it's the words that come out that throw people off the intelligence trail. So the thing about the body-mind disconnect, which is what Emma has also called it, this probably more than any other thing was the thing that threw me as a parent. Emma, you would say something, and I would think that the words that were spoken were exactly what was meant, and also that the words spoken were indicative of what was being thought. And what I have learned through you, Emma, is that this is incorrect, and that the words spoken might be what was meant, but just as often and even more often they were not. So for instance, I might ask a yes or no question, and Emma, you might say typically yes, but in fact would mean no. Until we learned that Emma had actually taught herself to read at a very early age and could write, Emma was in school being taught very basic reading, and because she would fumble reading out loud, they would continually reduce the level of reading, so that eventually it was large, big text and picture books. Sadly, this was not at all what Emma needed, and it in no way showed what she was capable of. So Emma suggested during this presentation that she wrote, Emma, can I quote you? She wrote, "I will put all vanity aside so that others may learn." And she suggested that I ask her a simple question, which she will then attempt to answer through spoken language, and then she will then write on the keyboard an answer to the same question. So the question that she asked me to ask her was about the weather. There's a little back joke about this, which is that Emma calls us talkers weather talkers, those people who enjoy cocktail party conversations, small talk, that sort of thing. We're weather talkers. So I had said something a bit more complicated. Emma said, "How about you ask me something simple like the weather, because you talkers like that sort of thing." So, Emma, what do you think of the weather?
Leslie thinks the weather is sunny.
Okay, well it is. It is sunny, so that was good. And now we're going to type an answer to that question as well. Beautiful blue skies with a touch of humidity makes me happy that I can wear a pretty dress. I'm a talker, so I can go on and on, but I wanted to have you kind of lead the way here and give you the opportunity to write more about what you mean when you say, "My body does not obey my mind." The beauty of my mind is also often ignored by my difficult body that is very childlike in movement. One of the things that Emma asked me to comment on was that as a parent, I again took the way she moved or didn't move as an indication of interest or intent. So for example, at an early age, I would often say something to Emma, but because she turned away, or she walked away, or she didn't look at me, I assumed she wasn't listening, or couldn't hear me, or perhaps didn't understand. So it didn't occur to me that she understood everything. Both my husband and I fell into the problematic behavior of believing that what we saw was in fact, and what we believed was in fact the truth. And Emma has now told us through writing how very wrong we were. We would talk about Emma in front of her. We would say all kinds of things that she has now told us not only she understood, but was very hurt by. So this idea of the body and the mind, and that there's a disconnection, that the mind could be thinking all kinds of incredibly articulate and profound things, but that when asked to speak and use spoken language, it wasn't going to, the two were not connected necessarily. And I found this very, very confusing for a long, long time. I wish I had realized this much earlier. So Emma, why don't you talk a bit more about what your mind is doing, and or give another example of the body-mind disconnect and how that shows up for you.
Fish lips to the audience is an expression of funny playfulness, but can be misinterpreted as simple-mindedness.
So, doing fish lips to the audience is an expression of funny playfulness, but can be misinterpreted as simple-mindedness. And I think that's another great example of what Emma has been talking about. What else? Silliness is acceptable in those who are believed smart, but for those like me, it indicates stupidity.
Silliness is acceptable in those who are believed smart, but for those like me, it indicates stupidity.
Okay, yeah. What else? Emma. Come on. Go ahead.
L-E-T-S
Let's let people ask me questions and maybe one for you.
Okay.
So I don't know, Emma's doing this. This is, if any of you who've been to autistic-friendly, autistic-led organization or conference, instead of clapping, because a lot of the people in the audience will be autistic and may have sensory issues about the sudden noise of clapping, everyone does this, which is sort of wonderful, so that's what Emma's doing. All right, so we'll open it up to all of you, and if anyone has questions, just raise your hand, and I don't know if there's a roaming mic, but maybe I can repeat the question once you've asked it.
I just want to ask Emma if she has an idea to let the parents know when we are asking something for our children, that they are actually listening to us.
Repeat the last part.
When we are asking our son or talking to our kids, how can we know that they are listening to us?
Assume they can, and we will do no harm.
Assume they can, and you will do no harm. I'll just add something that one of the things that we did when we realized that Emma was understanding everything, and before I had learned this method of supporting her typing, we had a laminated yes-no card, and the yes was with a green background, the no was with a red background, and we would hold it up, and she would point to one or the other. It's amazing how much information you can get just from those two words, but it will at least give you an indication. So, you know, are you listening to me? Yes or no, you know, and I've seen just countless kids who were deemed non-speaking, who then learned this method of typing who are saying the most profound things. And on our blog, we have a resources page, and we begin with all the blogs written by non-speaking autistic people or non-fluent speaking autistic people, and it's a very lengthy list. A lot of the kids are Emma's age, maybe a little bit older, teenagers. I mean, it's every age group. I've got a handout over here. It's a bullet point of presuming competence, because the whole idea of presuming competence is something that I didn't really understand in the beginning, but it has been absolutely key to moving forward.
I am just so impressed with you, Emma, and I just thank you so much for coming today. I am a speech pathologist, so I did have a question about your supportive typing and how you learned to do that. Years ago, I show my age, 20 years ago, there were speech therapists some therapists were doing facilitated communication, and then there was a lot of controversy over that, and a lot of people stopped that. Now, I did see you were not supporting her. I did see her sometimes supporting herself, but I'm just very interested in how she learned.
Right. Okay, so the way all of this unfolded for us was that I was asked to speak at a conference called the ICare4Autism Conference in 2012. And at that conference, I saw a film, Wretches and Jabbers, which I highly recommend if you haven't seen it or don't know of it. You can get it through iTunes. And in it, there are two men, Tracy Thresher and Larry Bissonnet, and they have two facilitators. When I saw this, I went then, after I had given my presentation, I went to a presentation given by the four people, the two facilitators, Pascal Chang and Harvey Leroy, and Tracy Thresher and Larry Bissonnet. And in the audience was a boy who could not have been more than 8 or 9 years old, who was speaking, who was writing. He didn't speak at all, and he wrote the most insightful, wise, profound comments, and I was blown away. So I went up to Pascal and I explained about Emma, and I said, do you think there's any way that this could be helpful? And he said, I'll come over, I'm in New York, I'll come over, and we'll see. And Emma wrote this whole thing about the three bears and Goldilocks. And I mean, Emma at the time was in a special ed school. We now homeschool, but she was in a special ed school. They were sending reports home of all kinds of, there was self-injury, and there was, because she couldn't read aloud, they kept sort of dumbing it down. And nobody, there was believed that she didn't understand the concept of money and time and all these things. So this was incredible. About 3 months later, a woman named Soma Mukhopadhyay, who's an Indian woman who was out of Austin, Texas, was in New York. A friend contacted me. I set up an appointment. My husband and I went with Emma and her teacher, a therapist and a teacher. And we sat with tears streaming down our face because Soma said, I'm thinking of a month when the leaves fall off the trees, and Emma spelled October. Just to tell you guys how far we have come, this was just about 1.5 years ago.
I just wanted to compliment Emma that you have an excellent vocabulary for anybody, nonverbal or verbal, autistic or neurotypical.
I just want to know, do you feel pain doing the fish lips? Do you feel pain?
Okay, do you feel pain when you do fish lips?
No.
Thank you, Emma. You really empowered me more today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emma, for bringing your insights and showing us and showing all of us that in your uniqueness, you know, you're the same as everybody else. The only difference is perhaps you communicate a little bit differently. And once we open the door to that communication, we see what a brilliant and wonderful person you are. So thank you very much.
You talkers forget that there is great wisdom in silence. So hence my husband's nickname for Emma, the Dalai Lama. I just would like to put out a request to all of you in the audience, which is this. The biggest difficulty I have come to see for my daughter is not her autism. It is all of us. And so I think it is our duty and our responsibility to change the conversation and the discussion that is currently going on about autism and stop with all the deficit talk and all the lists of everything that's wrong. Imagine for a moment if each one of you was given a long list of every single thing that you do wrong. Everything that you think, the way you move, the way you speak, was criticized. Just think about that for a second and think how then that would affect how you behave. So the one thing I would love when we leave here is if all of you could just think of that when you're working with whomever you're working with who may or may not be autistic, to consider how it must be for them and to act with respect and kindness. Thanks.